stand for the pledge of allegiance and pray when I forget. Ms. Kate Speck, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all many blessings, Lord. We thank you once again for allowing us as a city council to come together, Lord. We pray that everything we do in accordance now, Lord. Lord, we pray for our men and women who serve our country and the leaders of our country, that they will always look to thee for wisdom and guidance, Lord. We pray for the sick, and especially the ones that is close to us, that you will restore them back for much more health, Lord, if it be thy will. Pray for families that have lost loved ones. Comfort them as only you know how. Forgive us of our sins. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. So, in this call meeting tonight, the only topic there is just to talk about some of the streets in Livingston, and by law, that's all we can talk about. So, I just wanted to have the general conversation with the Board of Aldermen tonight of the expenses that it comes with the, and just making sure that everybody is aware of all the expenses that it comes with with the potential of doing the old chip to the roads, and I know that we did not vote to do that, but we voted to possibly go in that direction. So I had the numbers that we already had, and I had Mr. Wayne Peak to go ahead and get us the numbers for the possible for the if the project was to get started. Here's a copy for the press if they would want to, or anybody else that might have one can. Very good. Anybody else like to have a copy? They can have a copy. There you go, Danny. Thank you. And you can see, and some of these prices. This is what Wayne got from a local company here, and I wanted them to go a little bit on the high side because I wanted it to be more on the high side to give us a little bit more of a conservative number. Therefore, if we budgeted it, we would see exactly what how much expense that we're going to have over there. If you take a look at the tile Mr. Peak has came up with, the 18,640 number. Also the 100-ton shot rock, $1,200, and 4,450 tons of crusher run, $44,500. Also, we got with we want to thank Mr. James Nard for always working well with us and allowing us at times if we need to use an old machine, things of that nature. He's always been very, very nice to work with, and has always worked well with us. And but you can see the numbers on the gallons and tons are figured at 3-shot layers, liquid asphalt, RS2 cost per gallon $1.82, chips 3/8 and a half cost per ton. All rocks and liquid asphalt RS2 price subject to change or increase at any given time. Of course, that's what happens when you deal with the fuel business, because we know oil can shoot up anytime. That price is at $42,176. I don't know, Wayne, is that a little bit on the high? Is that kind of exact on this one?
That's kind of
exact. Right. Okay. So just looking at that, and you're going to have roughly, that'd be $88,000 to do that. Now, the concerns that I had, one of the reasons that we had this meeting was as Wayne went over and started the project, as the Board of Aldermen directed him to do, There were some issues that I just think that board members need to know exactly kind of what we're going to have. There is some paved driveways, according to Mr. Peak here, that we're going to have to cut some paved driveways. There is more water is now going to be on people's driveway and property. And there's some landscaping that looks like we're going to be cutting out. And in most places, it's a 60-foot right-of-way, and on Kennedy, I think it's a 50-foot right-of-way. And if, according to Mr. Peak here, if we oil chip, we don't have anything to patch it back with, according to Mr. Peak. And he's here for questions if anybody wanted to.
I've got some calls. If Buena Vista was gonna be in this, do you think Buena Vista's in pretty good shape?
It's on the pavement list, but it wouldn't because it's done been paved. It don't need to be on the chip on the top of the pavement.
So it's already been paid?
It's been paved and all that, it's rough shape.
Is that, excuse me, is that the Buena Vista to Long Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that one does not need to be resurfaced, is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
it does need to be.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, he's saying it can't be oil
It
chip.
don't need to be.
That's
on
what
the
I
chip.
thought, okay, gotcha. All right, thanks, Wayne.
Anything on these on chips, another thing, you can't do nothing in the winter time.
Right.
You
I have
can't
one-
put brine, salt, nothing.
All right, one quick question,
We
you
could
mentioned the
use
land.
sand on it, couldn't we?
We have used, we have used sand and, box here for that amount. But it's rough on you don't wanna come out of your spreader, you have to have somebody up there punching all the time as you go and drive.
You could take, what I handed out here is just, again, this is just a proposal, that I had, Rogers Group to come up, and, I don't know the date on it. What is the date on it? Is there a date on it?
Yeah, there is.
This is March 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
March of 2018. Anybody wants a copy of this, is more than welcome to have a copy of this proposal. I just, we're certainly, Wayne and I both is at your mercy, we can do whatever you want to do. I'm a little, as Wayne told me today, and the other time, that old chip is just a Band-Aid, and it's just a heavy rain, a heavy snow, and we're gonna have holes in it and things of that nature, and it's just a Band-Aid. And I just, before we invested $100,000, I just wanted to make sure this is what everybody wanted to do. I'm not against it, I just wanted to know, tell everybody what we've got, and if it's gonna be just a Band-Aid, if that's what you wanna do, if you wanna take a look at paving or.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Wayne, Curtis mentioned that there was some landscaping that could be disturbed over there when you're putting in the new drainage, et cetera. Is any of that on or within the right-of-way?
Everything that I've been working on will be on the right.
Okay, so if there's existing landscaping that's there now, it wouldn't be the obligation of the city to replace that. I would think it's on the right-of-way, correct?
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
or any other structures that could have been built that the homeowner might not have realized was on the right of way. Those would not be the city's responsibility to replace, correct?
Right.
Okay.
That's some of them driveways come from out in the right of way. So I mean, if they cut them, replace the tile, it'll get fixed back whenever you oil and chip the pavement or whatever.
I mean, most of the time when you pave the driveway, you pave it to the street. I mean,
Sure.
it's normal.
I
But
want to clarify.
some of that is on the right of way, and it is subject to be cut.
Yeah. I'm just curious, does anyone on this committee pull out of their private driveway onto an old chip city street when they go and come from work? Does anybody? Do you?
They've tried to pay it, and they do the best they can on Tennessee Drive, more than that.
But is it a paved street or an old chip street?
Well, it's paid.
Anybody?
Here's the kicker, folks. This 42,000 right here is basically the only, what the oil's gonna cost. You're gonna put your tile in whether you pave it, you're gonna put your crusher run down and everything, you gotta have your foundation. That's 42,000 versus $1 million, that's your difference.
Okay. I don't pull onto an oil and chip drive,
I do not.
and I don't think it's fair that anybody in this town have to pull out of their driveway onto an oil and chip road.
I'm with you 100%.
So I think if we're gonna spend $100,000 or whatever the cost is, we need to fix it right to the same standards that everybody pulls out of their driveway onto that's sitting on this committee.
We're just throwing our money away from an old chip, and I'm not for that at all. I say we look at other avenues.
I tell you,
Can I be obliged to hand this out, that the
Yeah,
little homework
sure.
I've done?
Sure.
I put together a packet here, some information of some homework that I've done on this matter. I know it's important to everybody here. David, you and Ron brought it up at the last meeting. When I was campaigning, I walked throughout that neighborhood and knocked on every door over there. And I committed to them at that time to do all that I could, as just one person on this committee, to make certain that those streets are addressed. They are bad. So I just took it upon myself to do some homework, and it's my opinion that we as a body need to spend some serious time putting together a thorough, comprehensive, long-term plan with regards to the condition of our streets, the resurfacing of our streets, the widening, maintenance, etc. I do not believe that it's effective for us to piecemeal on an annual basis, one street here, one street there. I think we need a long-term, comprehensive, well-thought-out plan. And I've just put some information together of some ideas of ways that we can begin that process. One of the first things I think we need to do is, working with Wayne, our street supervisor, is identify every street in town, create an Excel spreadsheet, know what that length of that street is. You may already have this, Wayne. What the length is, the width is, when it was last resurfaced, what's the condition. If you had a wish list of 1 to 5, 10 years when you think that street needs to be resurfaced, we'll have a list that we can all look at that's consolidated, and we can go through and prioritize where our most urgent needs are for our roads. Then we can work together on a funding plan to address the 1-year, 3-year, 6-year needs. But we cannot simply sit here and talk about roads on an occasional basis and without some type of comprehensive plan. So I've laid out some ideas of ways that we can begin to work on that. And on the page 3, you can see where I've taken off of this Rogers Group quote every street in the Carr Avenue subdivision and what their estimated cost is to resurface each of those. I had 6, I thought I passed it out.
I'm 7, that's okay, I'll share it with you.
So if this body were to decide to resurface every street in that neighborhood, it would cost us roughly $277,000 in asphalt to resurface. Then if it costs us another $100,000 for Wayne to go over there, remediate the drainage issues, widen the streets, etc., we're looking at roughly $375,000 to tackle that neighborhood. From my understanding, there's an area of town that is also in desperate need of the same type of work, and that would be the area around the co-op, the Dollar General area up in the Tennessee Drive area. You can see I've also pulled out every street in that neighborhood as well. If we wanted to consider, a bond issue for $1 million, we could tackle both. We wanted to start small, tackle the Carr Avenue area first. That's a possibility as well. I've even gone as far as to ask Curtis to get with the Tennessee Municipal League to find out if we were to issue a bond for $500,000, what would our annual expenses be? What would it cost us, all right, in terms of a principal and an interest debt service? So for $106,000 due on 11/2019, we could theoretically go and get a $500,000
That was the meeting.
bond.
Price of the payment.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected, it's the next page.
Right.
For $61,000, we can make an annual debt service, for the, like I said, the $500,000, and knock out Carr Avenue subdivision right now. I believe that a $60,000 payment could be paid without any tax increases if we were to earmark future packaged liquor store tax revenues. It could require that a long-term comprehensive plan may require a balance of tax increases, revenue increases, cost reductions, some ideas that I've laid out in this packet. That would be step two. We have to sit down and come up with a comprehensive plan and how we're gonna fund it. And if the public supports us to fund a program that's comprehensive and long-term. I spoke with Curtis directly and said, I do believe that before this body ever considers any revenue increases, we have to look internally at every way possible that we can cut expenses within the city government itself. But I believe that the best approach is to create a neighborhood in that area of the Carr area subdivision that has equal quality streets that every one of us pull out of our driveway onto every morning and every afternoon. So,
If we can do that without raising taxes, I'm with you 100%, but now I don't know if you're not aware, which I'm sure you are, we've already got 125,000 yearly payment on what we already have done, and we're still at what, 8 million or so?
that's in the budget, the way I understand it. That's in the current budget. That's already been appropriated as an expense in the budget. David, I believe that
As long as we do this without raising taxes?
I believe that we have estimated that the packaged liquor revenue could be in excess of the $61,000 a year.
According to the study that I did from a city that looks familiar to what we would be, that would be Smithville, that would be Sparta, that would be Carthage, Gordonsville area there. They're bringing in about $89,000 to $90,000 a year on retail liquor. Now, that's
you're right.
projected. That's projected.
I hope you're right, so we just get a percentage of that liquor, about 8% or something. Do you know how much liquor is gonna be sold for us to get $60,000? Everybody in the country gonna be drunk.
Regardless, I believe that a plan like this, in order to take care of that neighborhood, deserves for us to come up with $60,000 a year.
I'm with you, if we can do it, I'd rather have payment as chip.
If we raise $25,000 a year in packaged liquor revenue, and we have to come up with another 25, I have some ideas in here that are listed at page 2, where I think we could easily come up with another $25,000.
So let's talk about that for just a minute. One of the good things about this plan is, several good things, but one of them is the first payment is not due till October
19.
of 19. So, we would go through another fiscal year and set the budget for that. So I think it would be smart, for us to, as you say, Kelly and Chris, Alderman Speck brought it up earlier too, is to earmark the money, and then before we go into budget, we can see if there's any liquor stores, or if there is, how much revenue so far that is brought in. So now, in the event that, it's not brought in as much as it will, and it won't, because we still gotta get to October, then we can budget X amount of dollars for the general fund. Now, folks, that may mean that we have to cut some money, somewhere in the general fund, okay?
Right.
So we'll deal with that when time comes.
The issue
But one thing's for sure, it is gonna be a lot easier, to come up with 61,000, is that the number?
Yes,
Come up with 61,450 than it is.
or 100,000,
Right.
or 42,000 today to all chip.
If the city brings in 7,500, look at 8.1
76,
cents,
yeah.
if we have to raise taxes, what now, 8.1, so it'll be 8.1, 8 cents basically. Got to raise taxes 8 cents. We can't come under 61.
If the projected numbers don't come in, Chris, and then
It's a
if
worst
not,
case scenario.
worst case scenario, and before you do that, we could make some cuts somewhere in general funds.
Well, and I think the worst, absolute worst case scenario is to spend $45,000 today
Yeah.
in 2018 to oil and chip, when we can wait till 2019, spend $60,000 and we can pave every street over there and remediate the drainage problems.
Now, the way that works, Kelly, if the board approved to go by that decision tonight, then, we'd go through, the state, Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund, and you can see what they said the interest rates are, at 3.89%. And, we could start the process and possibly within, 2 or 3 weeks, have the money sitting there in the bank and advertise, coincide with advertising for the streets that we have talked about in the Carter subdivision, for $500,000. And then whatever's left out. I know that, Wayne had a couple of streets earmarked too, to add on that. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I know of, but anyway, certainly down,
Well, if we were to have any money,
left over, good,
Oh,
Spring, Henry.
I mean, the street around the new city park is in
Right,
terrible
absolutely.
condition.
We still need to let these people know, this stuff's not gonna be ready this year anyhow. By the time I get done buying that stuff, that's gonna have to settle out. You can't just go back into the payment or on ship it anymore. It's gonna have to settle out.
So realistically, Wayne, you're saying the spring of 2019?
I'm not sure the spring's for now, I can work all in.
Yeah.
Would we wait till then to do the bond issue and
But-
delay that payment?
but we-
that much
But
more?
we could, yeah.
But do we have enough money, today, for Wayne to finance what he needs to finance to do the drainage?
No.
Because we may have to go ahead and do the bond issue in order to do
That's right.
this work.
That's right, and the answer is no.
Okay, so
Can you
We-
do part and then when you get ready to pay the rest? You have to do it all.
he needs to get his work done.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing one street at a time. I started on Carr Avenue, afterwards, and asked the other night, then I'll do the oil statement, then Kennedy, then I'll get to the short street.
You mean to tell me we can't find enough money to start and let him do what he needs to get ready for 2019? I don't know when this was prepared, or how many's had this ahead of time.
I just prepared it, bro.
You just brought it, so nobody else saw it. That wasn't done
today.
at the steel coop last week when 3 or 4 sitting around the table. I'm gonna tell you something.
Excuse me, are you accusing me of
I
something?
didn't, I said, I wanted to know. I just asked a question.
I would like to clarify.
Okay. That's, it could be yes or no, would be one of them. We need to have an audit and find money. This town has not had an audit in probably 15 or 20 years, except the state, whoever it picks. And we've got money coming in.
Ronald, that's an incorrect statement, and I wish you would tell the truth.
I have
We
copies
have
of
an
the
audit
last 5
every
years
year.
audit.
Right.
You have received audits of this town every year.
Right.
There is no city in the state of Tennessee, 0 cities in the state of Tennessee, 0 counties in the state of Tennessee that can get by and not have an audit. That is an incorrect statement.
is from
If you're
the
going to
state.
talk, I wish you could tell the truth. That is inaccurate. That's inaccurate. What do you mean you've not seen it?
Yeah, I
think
saw
what
it.
Ronald's talking about is the independent audit, not.
We have an independent audit every year.
I know it, but it's Joel.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
There's
How
a-
do you know, Kelly?
Because I would,
He's
let me
requested
explain.
it.
I requested, excuse me, I was asked a question I'd like to finish. Before I came on the board and before I was sworn in, I sent a letter to Phyllis and Curtis asking for 14 separate documents so that I could be informed about this body before I came on board. One of my requests was for the last 5 years of both the independent audits and the internal
Who
audits.
done all that stuff?
Right here
I don't
it
have it in front of me.
is. Bentley, hey, Ellen Farm. Yeah.
You have to ask yourself if you want this stuff.
I also have,
I want it, but I mean, I don't wanna make it, so.
I also have
expensive if people can't live here in Livingston, too.
Well, it's done, and it costs money to.
Here's the budget that this committee approved before I came on board, with every line item for revenue and expenses, and I believe you passed it.
That's correct.
Okay, so you should know where the money goes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I don't know, well.
You know where the revenues are, and you know where the expenses are.
But I
If you
don't know
study the
each
budget and you
month.
study the audits, you
Coming
will
in.
understand.
Okay, I'll go to Phyllis and request what's coming in each month at the airport.
Well, I will not sit here and be accused
Just
of
ask.
breaking the sunshine law on my second
I didn't
meeting.
say nothing about sunshine law.
Yes, sir, you did. You accused me of taking this document to steal coup and reviewing it with my fellow board members prior to this meeting.
I just asked if it was prepared.
Well, I think that's a low blow.
So I'm all for it if we can
Yeah.
lay over there and not raise taxes.
That's an accusation.
I'd rather have a paved road as a chip road, I understand. I'm with you. I just don't want to make it so expensive that people can't pay their taxes.
And you're very knowledgeable.
I have actually done my homework, Mr. Dishman, very thoroughly.
What was you saying, Danny?
Let me ask you guys, if you're on the square, I may be wrong on this, on your taxes you got off of your sales in the business on the square, this part gets what, 5% of that 7-something? Am I?
That's right.
Okay, what's going on giving these streets over here a certain part of that sales tax?
Danny, I think that, first of all, that it don't work that way. And I say that respectfully. I think this board is about to approve of voting that way.
You
okay?
can take 5% of 7-point-some% tax, take it down here and give it to the park, that's fine. And these streets been over here for 18 years, this park's been in here for 18 months. But all I'm asking is, that's one way you can get all the money. Take some of it.
Danny, I don't want to interrupt you, but.
Then no.
But you've got to know the facts. And the facts of it is, no. You absolutely cannot do what you're saying to do. I say that respectfully.
Okay, how can you take the tax money for that, and you can't take,
Because that's what it's designed for.
it's not, tax money is not designed to keep a street up.
No, sir.
Well, where do you get the money out then?
What Mr. Coleman just said. We have to come up off of, from the hill. There is zero grants, Mr. White, to receive any payment for the city of Livingston, for the city of Fiscal, for the city of Sparta, or Metro Nashville. There is zero grants out there. I promise you, I'm the king of grants, and if there's one out there to get, I promise you I will get it. But I think,
You've answered my question clearly.
I want to throw out just an example.
Guys, I think I was talking. I don't mean to be rude. I mean, just
Okay.
let me finish, then I'll shut up.
I'll give you the floor.
But what have these city people, these two excluded by Sons Gummy, have done with these people on 130 people's taxes over the last 10 years off that streets of ours? What have you done with their money? That's the last question, ain't it?
Can I answer?
It didn't come to them, we know that.
Okay.
Okay.
They get fire protection, they get police protection, they get garbage protection, they get a cut rate in their water rate, they get debris pickup, and things of that nature. Danny, I'm 100% on board.
And I agree, and I also think I seen today, that they're doing the same thing for the people that's got you fine streets in town. They're getting you trash, they're getting everything done, what you say that they got, but they've not got the streets to match these streets. Why? Why have they been, no, just answer that question, you don't know.
We're trying to fix it right now. We're trying to fix it right now.
Danny, may I?
Yes, sir.
May I address you? Something that I was unaware of until I got into the numbers and did some of my own research, that I think that speaks to what you're referring to. You asked where the taxes are going, and why aren't the taxes being used for a portion of the
Why have
taxes?
they been ignored?
Let me just reference a figure that was surprising to me. We have roughly $1.3 million in property tax revenue to this city, all right? That's property tax revenue, it's right there in the budget,
Okay.
million, 95% of the tax revenue is expensed to our police and our fire. The police is $981,000, the fire is $293,000. So 95%, I've got the numbers, of that 1.3 million in property tax alone goes to support our local police and our fire. Now, the budget is public information. We can go through, I'll be happy to sit down with you and go through the budget anytime. You can see exactly where every dollar of the taxes that is produced in this town
Okay.
go.
All that is one of those two departments. You said there's nothing in them two departments that you could delete, and the police and the fire protection will still be there. I can name you $3,600 that was supposed to be trash can. A little Easy Rider car was, you guys granted $3,700. Why would the city, the streets is so bad, why would you put $3,600? What purpose did that bring back to the taxpayers of Livingston? And that's not the only thing. Look around the police station. What have you got all this stuff for?
Yeah.
But the little car, why in the world would you want to put $3,600? Oh, that ain't gonna pave no streets. That's the start. That's a waste of money.
That came out of the drug fund. Not a penny of that, it comes out of the general fund. Not one penny.
Okay, if they're using drug funds to run the police department, why are they getting this 90-something?
I did not, sir, that's not what I said. I mean, you asked me a question and I'm trying to answer it. When you talk about the carts that they got,
Yeah.
that comes out of the drug fund.
How much money do they get a year on drug funds? Do you know? Like,
Well, we have a budget, I don't have a budget in
That's-
front of me, but it is money that they brought in. I mean, again, I'm like Kelly, if you want to sit down with
but
me
should they
and
be
we'll.
took away from this money that they're getting out of the
No,
taxes?
the other one goes for, always for electric, utilities for the building, uniforms, salaries, insurance, things of that nature. I mean, it's very expensive to run those departments, and it is a department that has to be run out of the general fund. Property tax, sales tax, revenues, things of that
I'm
nature.
just asking you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
That's a
trying
great
to.
question, actually. In fact, one of the things on
Why
my,
couldn't you take a look at these departments, a little close, and cut some of this?
did you?
Guys, it's buddy spending money. It's not our taxpayers spent money wise when you, and I'm sure when you give that permission. Why would you even need something like that knowing that you got a budget that's not even there? Why would you vote to do it? I know it's not much money compared to $100-something thousand. It's in the pot. But why?
I have a list of 7 very major items that I believe are very important for us as a body to look at, which was part of what I said was a long-term plan and strategy for funding those streets in our town. I believe it takes a lot of work on our part to look in very closely at each department. I've had this discussion with the mayor. He's in full agreement. We need to look very closely at every expense. You're right. That's how we try to run our businesses. But we cannot build Rome in a day. If you have a,
Rome ain't been over there. They've been over 18 years. You're talking about the streets. But each department needs to be looked at, and I know you can cut your budget out of some of it.
All right, thank you.
It's never been done.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to talk? Yes, Ms. Barber.
I would just like to say that, you talk about don't raise taxes. In the long-term plan, I think a lot of citizens are okay with raising some taxes to get roads long-term for all neighborhoods.
Thank you.
I don't have an objection to that.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Okay. Is there any more, talk about, so that, going back to what you originally talked about, was the payment of $61,450, and what that would do, that would give Wayne the green light to go ahead and start, the major construction, with the fact of, like Wayne said, it would be probably, April or so, if we're ready then, okay, to pay it, and let it get settled and things of that nature. So the neighborhood roads would be just a little rough, realistically, because you're gonna widen, and you're gonna be cutting, and you're trying to fix the drainage and things of that nature, okay? So that's kind of where we are. So, yes, sir.
I'm thinking back on some comments made earlier. I'm really curious if I could hear from my fellow board members, what your plan is. What plans do you have for repairing our streets?
I wanna see the streets paved, and Wayne's doing the best he can. As far as taxes being raised, we've got people that can't afford the taxes that they're affording now. They're trying to do the best they can. We need to cut some stuff. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, in 2016, I voted for the budget, I voted last year, this recently budget. But we need to look at some things to minus instead of adding to. And I realize you've got to add to upgrade and to keep upgrading. That's just like your business. You've got to add some to upgrade. But there's also things that you can cut. Look at cutting. You said you've got 7 things there. That's what we've got to do. I mean, there's some things, you know, police and fire, we've got to have it. But if there's some things we need to cut, some other things, then we need to cut it. We need to let Wayne do what he can do, and then go ahead and, you know, we got to work with the whole town. We just can't, you know, the square draws people in. The park draws people in. But I've always been with the motto that I'm proud of Livingston. I stand behind Livingston. And it is my hometown. But I want it to be a hometown that we can be proud of and honorable instead of being disrespecting and things going on that, you know, that I'm not proud of. But anyway, we can, you know, I want to see it prosper, so I'll, you know, grow.
I'm with Ronald 100%. If we can pave that over there without raising people's taxes, I'm all for it. There's no one that would rather have a chip drive or a chip road other than a paved road. I understand that. If we have to up taxes, there's some people that's on a fixed income that, I mean, they're at their limits. I'm not for that myself personally. If we up taxes somewhere or another, I'll try to pay mine. But I'm not for going to extreme. I'm like Ronald. I think that we do need to go down department to see if we can make cuts. I mean, just like these pickups the other day, we saved what, $20,000-$30,000 by waiting or whatever, and that's nearly employee's salary. So, you know, if we can do this without upping taxes, I'm all for it.
And one more thing, too, if I could. You know, there's possibly we may even want to look at annexing either in some kind to get more revenue. That, you know, that, but I'm not talking. That's got to be voted on. Right? We may want to bring, you know, that may need to be voted. Yeah.
Well, more in, you can't even take care of what you've got now.
Well, one thing you're going to learn about me is I do a lot of homework. I crunch a lot of numbers. I get in the numbers.
I can verify that.
And I roll up my sleeves, and I try to learn. I think that's what the citizens elected me to do. And I think they elected me to come here with very specific ideas and plans to bring to this group of what I feel like can be done to try to help move our town along. I'm not gonna come here and pontificate. I'm gonna come here and give you specifics of what I think can be done. The budget is very thorough. I've studied it very thoroughly. Absolutely, like any entity, your business, my business. There's some fluff, and we do need to identify where that is. If you read my ideas, that's very specific, included in my ideas. But by darn, we gotta roll up our sleeves and we gotta get in the numbers here. We got some issues that this city's facing that require a lot of work. And we need to be prepared when we come here with what we think specifically is going to have to be done to move this city forward.
See more
Talking
discussion.
about the liquor, but the drink and everything, I hope you folks is right. I mean, I really hope it brings in the revenue. But no, it's gonna bring in a lot of money.
Well, if it doesn't, we gotta find the money to pave our streets,
8 cents.
okay? So,
And really, you need to be raising taxes every year to keep up with inflation and everything else.
That's what
This-
MTS
this no
said.
taxes
for example,
is just craziness.
MTS says a
The
nickel a
position where
year.
you're at now,
Hell is
where
that?
they wanna raise taxes 22 cents.
How much will it be?
That's an astronomical.
Nickel a year?
Yeah, nickel.
Sitting here not doing anything, you're gonna stay right here, you're not gonna go anywhere forward.
for
So
example,
don't tell me that you wanna sit here and raise taxes, that's your vote.
for example,
Everybody's got a vote, but if you don't raise taxes, you're gonna be in a mess, and we're in a mess, and we've gotta move forward.
absolutely.
If it costs 8 cents, it's not gonna kill everybody.
I took 3
Well,
line items.
people on fixed incomes, we're all on fixed income, I'm on a fixed income. We just, if you wanna live in the city and you want this stuff, you're gonna have to pay for it,
Absolutely.
period.
I took 3 expense line items and studied them closely and looked at the trend. Healthcare insurance that we provide for our city employees, insurance to insure the facilities, the equipment, et cetera, and, insurance, healthcare, insurance, and there's one other, a third one. In 3 years, those 3 line items have increased by $100,000. Now, have we raised any taxes to offset that increase? No. Just like you said. Our cost of doing business is not what it was 5, 10 years ago. So we can't stay stagnant.
Now, we can't cut
You
it.
can
Yeah,
sure see it right
Cut
here.
it, but the cutting ain't gonna get it done, you've gotta stay up with the time. Are you in the mess you're in right now?
Yes, sir.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Taxes, I understand they may have to be raised sometime, but that should be the last
I agree.
thing.
Absolutely.
I think we're all in agreement.
We're all
And nobody, no one's talking about a tax increase tonight. This
Yeah, I
is-
know, I understand that, but I've heard people talking about it.
Right.
Chris was over and talked about it. And, you know, when you got a lot of money, that doesn't matter as much. And I understand that, but there's a lot of people in town don't have a lot of money. And, we gotta look out for them too. And so, but on the other hand, we've gotta look for things, you know, in business. We get, you know, it seems like governments, federal, I mean, it's all over the world, all over the country. It seems like when they overspend, they just run back and wanna raise the tax. And that's not the way a business does business. They live within their means, you know, and look for alternative ways to get income. But on the other thing, on the paving, am I in the right understanding that can the county help us with the paving?
The count, no, sir.
They could with the chip, they can't with the paving.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, well, I thought maybe if they could help us with the paving, it would cost less.
I'm pretty sure they subcontract out their paving too. I think.
Do they? They don't have a paving.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do that. And they do some of the counties, and they get some, big groups,
Okay, is there a motion or anything, or is it just all discussion? All right, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Kelly.
I make a motion to take out the bond from TML, the amount of $500,000, and use it for the street improvements to all city streets, specifically the Carr Avenue neighborhood, and any remaining funds to be used for street resurfacing on streets around the new city park or as to be determined, with annual payments to be made from a combination of revenue from liquor, packaged liquor revenue, and any cuts that would be required in order to make up any differences.
Motion made by Alderman Coleman, second by Alderman Speck. Is there any discussion? Any discussion from the board? Roll call vote, Ms. Phyllis?
Ken,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Ronald,
Yes.
Motion passed. There's no other business with city council. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Ken Johnson, second by Vice Mayor Willingham. All four